In a poignant and raw social media post, R&B superstar Usher has opened up about the ongoing battle his wife, Jennifer Goycochea, is facing against pancreatic cancer. The message, shared on Saturday, November 29, 2025, serves as a stark reminder of the family's enduring struggle, highlighting the persistent nature of the illness amid moments of hope and heartbreak. The ordeal began in June 2025 when Goycochea, a 40-year-old music executive and mother of two, received a devastating diagnosis following a routine blood test. What started as subtle fatigue and abdominal discomfort quickly escalated into confirmation of smoldering pancreatic cancer, a rare, slow-progressing form that often evades early detection. Pancreatic cancer, known for its aggressive nature and low survival rates, affects approximately 60,000 Americans annually, according to the American Cancer Society. Goycochea's case, while not immediately life-threatening, required immediate intervention, plunging the couple into a whirlwind of treatments and uncertainty. Over the past 6 months, Goycochea has become a beacon of resilience, documenting her journey on Instagram to raise awareness and connect with others facing similar fights. Her posts, blending vulnerability with optimism, have garnered millions of views and messages of support from fans worldwide. The latest update, however, struck a somber tone. Goycochea's Instagram post, captioned 40-second chemo session, detailed the grueling reality of her treatment regimen. "It's been half a year living to the rhythm of chemo," she wrote in the lengthy entry. "Half a year of fighting, doctor's appointments, hopes, and sometimes big disappointments. That famous emotional roller coaster." She praised the medical team at a leading Los Angeles oncology center for their compassionate care, noting the warm welcome during endless visits. The post included a selfie of Goycochea in a hospital gown, her signature smile masking the exhaustion evident in her eyes. Usher reposted the message on his own account, amplifying its reach to his 12 million followers. In his accompanying note, he expressed unwavering support. "Starting a new cycle today, and with it, I decided to shave my head to walk this path with her." The gesture, symbolic of solidarity, echoes similar acts by celebrities like Will Smith during his wife's alopecia journey. But Usher emphasized it's more than cosmetic. It's not just about appearance. No. It's a reminder that the disease is still there, persistent, demanding, and it doesn't let go. Medical experts note that pancreatic cancer treatments like chemotherapy can be exhaustive, often involving multiple cycles to shrink tumors before surgery or other interventions. Goycochea's smoldering variant, a subtype that progresses slowly but can metastasize, requires vigilant monitoring. Sources close to the family tell Entertainment Weekly that she's exploring innovative therapies, including immunotherapy trials, to complement standard chemo. The couple's transparency has sparked a wave of solidarity in the music industry. Fellow artists like Alicia Keys and Justin Timberlake have sent public well wishes, with Keys commenting, "You're a warrior, Jen," sending all the love and strength. Fan campaigns, using hashtags like #TeamGen and #SheEnUsherStrong, have raised funds for pancreatic cancer research through organizations such as the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. Usher, whose net worth exceeds $180 million from hits like "Yeah" and ventures in acting and entrepreneurship, has paused select tour dates to prioritize family. In a recent interview with Rolling Stone, he reflected on the experience. "This has taught me what's truly important: love, health, and being present." Goycochea, a former senior director at ASCAP, has stepped back from professional duties, but remains active in advocacy, urging followers to prioritize routine checkups. As the family navigates this new cycle, hope persists amid the uncertainty. Goycochea ended her post on an uplifting note. "But through it all, I feel the love. From my family, friends, and all of you. Let's keep fighting." For Usher and his wife, the battle underscores a universal truth. Even in the spotlight, health crises remind us of our shared humanity. This is far from the first time this 47-year-old icon has faced heartbreaking adversity. Let's look back at Usher's turbulent life journey. From the painful losses and personal battles of his early years to the emotional storms that ultimately shaped the R&B legend the world knows today. Usher Raymond IV was born on October 14, 1978 in Dallas, Texas, to Jonetta Patton and Usher Raymond III. From the moment of his birth, music was in his blood. But so was abandonment. When Usher was just 1 year old, his father left. Usher Raymond III walked out on Jonetta and their baby son, leaving a single mother to raise a child alone. He didn't die. He didn't have some noble reason for his absence. He just left. His father left the family when Usher was a year old. The biographical accounts state plainly. 1 year. Barely old enough to remember, but old enough for the absence to mark him forever. Jonetta, a youth choir director, was left to raise Usher and his younger half-brother James Lackey, known professionally as J-Lack, by herself in Chattanooga, Tennessee. She worked multiple jobs. She directed the church choir. She did whatever it took to keep her sons fed, clothed, and safe. And young Usher? He grew up without a father figure. No man to teach him how to be a man. No male role model in the home. Just his mother, working herself to exhaustion, and the empty space where his father should have been. That abandonment, that fundamental rejection by the man who gave him life, would shape every relationship, every decision, every insecurity Usher would carry into adulthood. When Usher was 6 years old, Jonetta got him involved in the church choir, not because she thought he'd become a superstar, but because church was free childcare, free meals, and a safe place for her son to be while she worked. But then, Jonetta heard her son sing, really sing, and she saw something. A gift, a talent, a way out of poverty, out of struggle, out of the life they were living in Chattanooga. When Usher was 10, Jonetta enrolled him in a local R&B quintet called New Beginnings. They recorded 10 songs together, released a local album called New Beginning with Usher Raymond IV. It was a terrible experience, Jonetta later said, and she pulled Usher out. But she didn't give up on his talent. When Usher was 12, Jonetta made a decision that would change both their lives forever. She moved the family to Atlanta, Georgia. Believing that a bigger city would provide greater opportunities for showcasing his talent, Usher's family moved to Atlanta, Georgia, the records state. There was a more conducive environment for beginning singers. Think about what that means. Jonetta, a single mother with 2 sons, left everything she knew in Chattanooga, her job, her church, her community, and moved to a city where she knew no one, had no job waiting, no guarantee of anything. All because she believed in her son's voice. In Atlanta, Jonetta quit her full-time office job to become Usher's full-time manager. She had no experience in the music industry, no connections, no knowledge of contracts or royalties or how the business worked, but she dove in anyway. "I knew that I had to be with him," Jonetta explained years later. "I had to shuffle a lot of things. I gave him all of me. I gave that career all of me." For 17 years, Jonetta managed Usher's career. She negotiated contracts. She booked shows. She protected him from predators. She sacrificed her own identity, her own dreams, her own life to make her son a star. And she succeeded. But at what cost? At 12 years old, Usher was performing at local talent shows in Atlanta. At one such show in 1992, he was spotted by Bryant Reed, brother of L.A. Reid, the legendary R&B producer and co-president of Layface Records. L.A. Reid signed Usher to Layface. And at just 15 years old, in 1994, Usher released his self-titled debut album. 15, still going through puberty, still a child. Despite the fact that he was going through puberty and had almost lost his voice, the album did well, the records note. The album peaked at number 25 on the Billboard Top R&B Hip-Hop Albums chart. But here's the dark part. The album was full of sex-related songs. Usher's sex-related songs on the album, which the public felt were inappropriate coming from someone so young, was the reason the record was attacked. Ikhot, a 15-year-old boy, barely old enough to understand sex himself, singing explicit songs about adult relationships managed by his mother, marketed to adult audiences. It's uncomfortable when you think about it, borderline exploitative. But the industry didn't care. The album sold. Usher was a commodity. And childhood? That was the price of success. In 1997, when Usher was 19, he released his second album, My Way. It went 6 times platinum. The singles, You Make Me Wanna, Memain, and Nice and Slow dominated radio. Usher was now a superstar, but he was also a teenager who had never had a normal adolescence. No prom, no college, no figuring out who he was outside of being Usher the R&B singer. His entire identity was tied to his career, managed by his mother, owned by an industry that saw him as a product. In 2005, Usher met Tamika Foster, a fashion stylist who had worked with stars like Jay-Z and Toni Braxton. She was 37 years old. Usher was 26. She had 3 children from previous relationships. He had none. Jonetta Patton did not approve. She saw red flags, the age difference, the fact that Tamika had 3 kids, the speed at which the relationship was moving. Mother's intuition told her this was wrong. But Usher was in love, or at least he thought he was. Maybe it was rebellion against his mother's control. Maybe it was genuine connection. Maybe it was a 26-year-old man who had been controlled his entire life, finally making his own choice. In August 2007, Usher and Tamika were scheduled to have a large wedding. 6 days before the ceremony, they canceled it. The official reason was never given, but speculation ran wild. Had Jonetta intervened? Had Usher gotten cold feet? Instead, on August 3, 2007, Usher and Tamika married in a civil ceremony. Quick, quiet, without the blessing of Usher's mother. Jonetta Patton did not attend her son's wedding. Think about that. The woman who had sacrificed 17 years of her life, who had moved cities, quit her job, given up everything for her son's career, she refused to attend his wedding. That's not just disapproval. That's a complete fracture in the relationship. Usher's 2007 marriage to Tamika Foster created strain, the records note. Patton did not approve of the union and declined to attend the wedding. On November 26, 2007, Usher and Tamika welcomed their first son, Usher Terry Cinco Raymond IV. On December 10, 2008, they had their second son, Navid Ely Raymond. For a brief moment, it seemed like Usher had built his own family, his own life, separate from his mother's control, but the marriage was already cracking. Tamika had 3 children from previous relationships when she married Usher: Darren Zoe Banks, Ryan Carter Glover Jr., and Kyle Ishmael Glover. Usher became their stepfather. He helped raise them. He loved them as if they were his own. Kylie, born on March 29, 2001, was a bright, energetic 11-year-old boy. On July 6, 2012, Kylie was enjoying a summer day at Lake Lanier in Georgia, a popular recreational spot northeast of Atlanta. He and a 15-year-old girl were riding on an inner tube being pulled by a pontoon boat. Jeffrey Simon Hubbard, a family friend, was riding a personal watercraft, a jet ski. For reasons that remain disputed, Hubbard's jet ski collided with the inner tube, running over Kyle and the teenage girl. Kyle was wearing a life preserver, but when they pulled him from the water, he was unresponsive. He had suffered a massive brain injury. Kyle was rushed to Children's Healthcare at Eagleston in Atlanta. Doctors worked to save his life, but the damage was too severe. On July 8, 2 days after the accident, doctors declared Kyle brain dead. For 2 weeks, Tamika held on to hope. She posted on Facebook, "Kyle, you are strong. You'll be saved. I know it. I love you, my baby. I need all prayers for my son." But on July 21st, 2012, Tamika made the most devastating decision a mother can make. She took Kyle off life support. He died shortly after from heart failure caused by his brain injuries. Usher, though divorced from Tamika by this point, was devastated. This was his stepson, a boy he had helped raise, a child who called him dad. On July 27, 2012, family and friends gathered at Usher Road Baptist Church in Atlanta to say goodbye to Kyle. Usher was there, supporting Tamika and their shared sons. Rapper Ludacris attended. Producer Jazzy Paw, Phaedra Parks from The Real Housewives of Atlanta. A horse and carriage carried Kyle's small casket. Musicians played Jesus Loves Me as pallbearers carried the casket out of the church. Tamika, holding hands with 5-year-old Naveed, walked behind her son's casket, burying a child, something no parent should ever have to do. In March 2013, Jeffrey Hubbard was indicted by a grand jury. In February 2014, he was found guilty of homicide by vessel, serious injury by vessel, reckless operation of a vessel, unlawful operation of personal watercraft, and a boat traffic violation. In March 2014, Hubbard was sentenced to just 4 years in prison, followed by 15 years of probation. 4 years. For killing an 11-year-old child. "I'm disappointed that you have not accepted more responsibility for what occurred," Judge Bonnie Oliver said during sentencing, noting that Hubbard operated the watercraft in a foolish manner. Tamika later told reporters, "At the end of the day, I know he didn't do it on purpose. He could have only loved Kyle. But love doesn't bring a child back, and 4 years in prison doesn't heal the hole left by an 11-year-old boy who should still be alive." By the time Kyle died in July 2012, Usher and Tamika had been divorced for 3 years, but they were locked in an ugly custody battle over their 2 sons, Cinco and Naveed. The tragedy of Keel's death should have brought them together. Instead, it made things worse. Less than a year after Kyle's funeral, in August 2013, another tragedy struck. 5-year-old Usher Raymond IV, Cinco, was swimming in the pool at Usher's Atlanta home, under the supervision of a nanny. Somehow, the child got caught in the pool drain. He was trapped underwater, unable to free himself. The nanny and a sound engineer working at the house jumped in and pulled him out. They performed CPR until paramedics arrived. Cinco was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. He survived, thankfully, with no lasting injuries. But the incident terrified both parents and reignited their custody war. Tamika filed an emergency petition to have custody transferred to her, arguing that Usher's home was not safe for the children. She claimed this was just the latest in a series of incidents where the children had been endangered under Usher's care. The custody hearing took place just days after Cinco's near drowning. Tamika, still raw from losing Kyle just 1 year earlier, testified emotionally about her fears. But the judge sided with Usher. The court ruled that the pool incident was a terrible accident, but did not reflect a pattern of negligence. Usher retained primary custody of both sons. Can you imagine Tamika's pain? Burying one son, nearly losing another in a drowning accident, and then being told by a judge that she couldn't protect her remaining children because their famous father had better lawyers. In 2009, after the divorce from Tamika, Usher began dating Grace Miguel, his manager. They kept the relationship quiet for years before finally marrying in September 2015. For a while, it seemed like Usher had found stability. Grace managed his career. She was there for him after Kyle's death, after the custody battles, after all the chaos. But in March 2018, after 3 years of marriage, Usher and Grace separated. The announcement came quietly. No big press conference, no explanation. Just a joint statement saying they were better as friends and business partners. The divorce was finalized in 2018, and once again, Usher was alone. But this time, there was a scandal that made headlines worldwide. In 2017, court documents were leaked revealing that Usher had been sued by a woman who claimed he infected her with herpes. The documents alleged that Usher had been diagnosed with the sexually transmitted disease around 2009 or 2010, but failed to disclose his status to sexual partners. The lawsuit was settled out of court for $1.1 million, according to the leaked documents. Then, in 2017, multiple people came forward claiming Usher had exposed them to herpes without their consent. One woman sued, 2 men sued. All claimed Usher had engaged in sexual contact with them without disclosing his herpes status. The allegations were explosive. Usher's reputation took a massive hit. Concert ticket sales dropped. Endorsement deals disappeared. The perfect R&B gentleman image he had cultivated for decades was shattered. Usher never publicly confirmed or denied the herpes diagnosis. He settled the lawsuits quietly and moved on. But the damage was done. Another layer of tragedy in a life already marked by loss. Usher found love again in 2019 with Jennifer Jen Goicoechea, a successful music executive. They welcomed daughter Sovereign Beau in September 2020 and son Sire Castrello in September 2021, blending Usher's family with his 2 sons from his first marriage. On February 11, 2024, after Usher's Super Bowl halftime show, they married in a surprise Las Vegas ceremony at Vegas Weddings Terrace Gazebo, witnessed by his approving mother, Jonetta Patton, and attended by all 4 children in matching white suits. Unfortunately, in June 2025, Jen was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer following a routine blood test, marking a challenging turn in their lives. Usher described Jen as his best friend and amazing partner, highlighting their mutual support through life's challenges. This marriage symbolizes a healthy, respectful union based on shared values and genuine friendship. Throughout all of this, the success, the marriages, the tragedies, Usher's biological father, Usher Raymond III, remained absent. He had left when Usher was 1 year old and never really came back. On January 21, 2008, Usher Raymond III died of a heart attack. He was 68 years old, Usher was 29, a global superstar, a father himself, and his own father died without them ever truly reconciling. There are no records of Usher speaking publicly about his father's death, no tributes, no emotional interviews, just silence. Because what do you say about a man who gave you life but never gave you himself? Today, at 47 years old, Usher Raymond IV is still a superstar. In February 2024, he headlined the Super Bowl LV8 halftime show to rave reviews. He still sells out arenas. He's still one of the best-selling artists of all time. But what did it cost? A father who abandoned him at 1 year old and died without reconciliation. A mother who sacrificed her entire life for his career, then was shut out of his wedding. A marriage that ended in divorce and ugly custody battles. A stepson who died at 11 in a preventable accident. A biological son who nearly drowned in his own pool. A second marriage that fell apart. A herpes scandal that destroyed his reputation. Usher has 8 Grammy Awards, but he also has trauma that no trophy can heal. At 47, Usher is still performing, still smiling, still giving the world the perfection they demand. But inside, he's still that 1 year old boy whose father walked away. The 12-year-old whose childhood was sacrificed for stardom. The stepfather who buried an 11-year-old. The father who nearly lost his own son. Success didn't save Usher. It gave him a platform. It gave him wealth. It gave him fame. But it didn't heal the wounds. It didn't fill the void. It didn't bring back Kyle or reconcile with his father or save his marriages. And maybe that's the real tragedy. You can have everything the world says you should want, fame, fortune, adoration, and still be carrying pain so deep that no spotlight can illuminate it. Usher Raymond IV achieved the American dream, but he paid for it with pieces of his soul he'll never get back.